Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Ankahet with WPGN, and today I'm going to talk a little about the Brawler class for Tera. Now, for those of you who know all about Tera and everything, you'll know that the Brawler is something that was released somewhat recently. It's also now available for the Ellen race. However, I am not playing an Ellen, I am playing a human, so anyway, that's neither here nor there. Now, the Brawler is a tank class. However, it is not like the Lancer or the Warrior. The way that the Brawler works is timing. It is all about your timing, and it is all about your ability to deal the damage back to the monster or boss. Now I'm going to explain how to do that. I'm not going to get too in-depth into skills or glyphs or gear, and this is also a pre-Apex, pre-level 65 explanation. Just basically for anybody who wants to give it a try and kind of have an idea of what they're doing, while they're going into it. So the way that Brawler works is your defenses. Now you'll notice that if I have my normal auto attacks here, and then most right clicks are either a dodge or a block. We don't have either of those. We have this, which is our defense mode. Now you can hold it inevitably for as much time as you have remaining MP. So there are a couple things of note here. When you can chain your normal attacks like this with your defense mode to produce an extra attack while in defense mode. So if you swing once, you get that. You get a second attack. You swing twice, you get a different type of attack. You swing 3 times, you get a spin attack while in defense mode. And then 4 times, you get kind of a more powerful punch. And then 5 times, you get an additional attack as well. Now that last attack is the only one that you're going to get in defense mode while you're chaining like that. But it gives you a little something extra to do while doing a little more damage to the boss or the monster while you're in defense mode. Now the way that defense mode works, it has 2 ways it works. There is something called perfect defense, and there is something called good defense. Perfect defense is when you right click, or you go into defense mode right before the boss or the monster hits you. A little gold thing saying perfect defense will show up on screen, and it will prompt a counter. Now let me explain counters. There are 2 types of counter. There is the innate counter right when you get that defense that reflects a certain amount of damage that the mob just did back to the mob itself. And there is a counter punch, which is a secondary skill that you can use in your chain, or that you can keybind to deal an attack while in defense mode back to the monster with a certain percentage of that damage already being reflected to them for hitting you while in defense mode, and another percentage of that damage carried on the end of that attack, that counter punch, into the mob again. So you're really dealing 2.5, I'd say closer to twice the amount of damage for them hitting you while in defense mode. And the counter punch also keeps you in defense mode, and you get 2 hits, so maybe 2.5 times the amount of damage. I believe the ratios, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in comments, is perfect defense is a 60% damage reflection innately, and good defense is, I believe, 40. I want to say it seems like that would be around there. I will include in the description the true numbers if I find out that that is not correct. Now the other thing that we should talk about is how do Brawlers keep threat? Yes, you have some taunts, but you shouldn't really have to use them all that much. The way that Brawlers keep threat is through their damage. Now there are a couple of skills that are very important to the Brawler for keeping aggro through damage, one of which is this skill down here in my bar called Haymaker. Haymaker is by far your hardest hitting skill. However, it is a little slow, and you can, I think, you can eliminate the cooldown, you can eliminate, or you can double the amount of crit chance it has, You shouldn't really have to worry about mana cost. It's never really been a thing. They've kind of, I think the ones who have to worry about that most, honestly, is probably archers and sorcerers. But anyway, enough about that. Now, there are some skills that will operate in defense mode, and there are some skills that will not. For instance, roundhouse kick will not operate in defense mode, which means that you can be hit while you are performing the attack. Haymaker does not operate in defense mode unless it is chained on the back of unless it's chained on the back of roundhouse kick with that secondary glyph, you know, enabled. But that's probably not going to happen a lot, so I wouldn't rely on that. Besides, you're not supposed to be relying on Haymaker as a defensive skill anyway. Great if you can, normal if you don't. But that's going to be your biggest damage dealing skill. Your second biggest damage dealing skill is Ground Pounder. That operates in defense mode. So while you're doing it, you are in defense mode. Your third, and I would say probably interchangeable with Ground Pounder if you have the rage for it, is Rampage. Rampage also operates in defense mode, so the entirety of the time that you're doing it and the animation for it, you are in defense mode. So anytime, you know, anything that hits you obviously procs your defense stance and your defense skills and whatnot. Some other ones that do not operate in defense mode standalone are Piledriver, Meat Grinder here, Jackhammer. Jackhammer can be glyphed, or I should say, roundhouse kick can be glyphed to make Jackhammer operate in defense mode, which is great because it's a great starting skill, which you're going to see in a moment because I'm going to demonstrate it for you. So let's go over here and poke this Kumasis over here. Or Kumas, whatever. So we'll poke him enough to the point where he takes a swing at me. Now we'll try and get that perfect defense for you to show up on the screen. These guys take forever, so... Okay, come on, buddy. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Counter, counter, Haymaker. And you can chain whatever other skills you like to it. Now the reason that you want perfect defense is because, you know, like I used Haymaker there, it increases the amount of damage that your skills afterwards do, like your counter punches, your innate counter, your Haymaker, your Ground Pounder, your Rampage, stuff like that. So you want to try for the perfect defenses. It's not always possible, obviously, because with the style of combat that Tera has, you can easily miss by a couple of seconds and get a good defense instead of a perfect defense, or if you're really slow, get no defensive at all and eat the damage to the face. So now I'm gonna display how Jackhammer has a defense mode because of the way I glyphed it. There's Jackhammer. There's Piledriver. You see, Jackhammer, out of the only 3 of those attacks I just did, was the only one that had a defense mode. Perfect defense, counterpunch, counterpunch, perfect defense, Haymaker. Done. 86,000 roll beforehand. Not bad. Now, I said that I wasn't going to talk about skills a whole lot, and I'm not. Those are the only 2 that I really wanted to get in there, which was Haymaker and Ground Pounder, or Rampage being your, you know, biggest heavy hitters. But if you choose to go the dungeon running route, one thing at a little higher level that you're going to want to pay attention to is, and I don't think I even have it yet, but it's called Mounting Fury. Yeah, there, Mounting Rage. There it is. Right before you pull the boss, you want to pop this because you gain 50% of your maximum rage, and then can gain 50 more rage every second for 20 seconds. So you can do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time, securing threat very easily with Mounting Rage. Another one that you should probably look into if you're having problems holding aggro is Infuriate or Provoke. Now I'm not going to talk a whole lot about stats, but those will give you, those will give you some additional threat if you need it. But that's really the consensus of how skills go for brawlers. There's a few more, but they're more just kind of attacks that you stick in there, you know, when you can get them in, or to start different chains if you want to run them off of chains. I only run the counterpunch off of a chain, and I have Haymaker chained, but I also have it keybound in case I need to use it outside of the chain. Brawler is a very timing related class, so I would recommend that you familiarize yourself with keybinds as much as you can. It will make it a lot easier for you, because there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to run a particular chain at a particular time. But given that, that's all I'm really going to say about it. I will come out with a new Apex guide when I've gotten to that point and had a little more time to evaluate it as to how it performs with Apex, how it changes your skills up, and so on and so forth, and we'll go over gearing and glyphs and skills at that point. But this was just a guide for anybody looking to play the Brawler or needing an idea of how it worked. So I hope that this was helpful. If you have any more questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below, and I would be happy to answer them when I get a moment to read. If you would like to see more videos about things like this, hit the notifications or subscribe, and thank you all for watching.